Hello, and welcome to Soul Journey Podcast. This is your host, Lauren Morales, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my journey into becoming a teacher. Now, when I was 4, I decided I wanted to be a teacher. You see, my mom, she was a teacher, and I grew up going to my mom's school and helping her in her classroom. And all throughout school, I would help others in their classroom. But at 4, the movie X-Men came out with Halle Berry, Hugh Jackman. They were in my class. I wanted to be a teacher, and I wanted to take attendance, and I wanted to check off their names. And so I would check off their names, pretending that they were there, and they weren't. As a 4-year-old, I really wanted to be like my mom. And so she was a teacher, and I wanted to be a teacher. But as I got older, I thought about, well, am I doing this because my mom is a teacher? Or am I doing this because I really, really want to be a teacher? And I didn't want to go into my career being disingenuous. I thought about things that I was passionate about. I was passionate about baking. Okay, well, I looked into what it would take to go into a career of being a baker. And then I looked at the long hours and the time that they spent away from their family. I didn't like it. I wanted to be with my family. I wanted to make sure that when I have family time, it's family time. So I checked that off the list. And I thought about, well, what if I was a swim instructor? That way I get to teach kids about things and I get to still be in the pool. I love the water. And then I'm like, that doesn't make much either. It doesn't make money. I can't live off of that. It's more of a side hobby. And then I thought, well, I want to be really smart. I feel like I'm smart, but I want to be super smart. I want to be the smartest kid in the classroom. What if I become a doctor? I thought, wow. I can be really smart and become a doctor. That's cool. And I'll be super smart and everyone will just go, Dr. Morales, I need your help. And then 3rd grade hit and I broke my arm. And I knew the moment I broke my arm and the moment the doctor set my arm, I did not want to be a doctor. I did not want to cause pain onto somebody, even if it meant healing them. I still love science and I still really, really wanted to be a doctor. And then I thought, okay, where can I not hurt someone? Well, I could be a forensic pathologist and anthropologist. Because Bones had just come out. And Bones, she was a forensic anthropologist. So I thought, I'll be that. That way I can still be a doctor and I can fight crime and I can help others. And I'm a social butterfly. And when you picture forensic pathologists, picture them not talking to many people. And unfortunately, their patients, you don't want them to talk to you. And I thought, well, okay, how can I still help others? And I was sitting at my brother's classroom, and I thought, he had really nice windows, and I could paint them. This is his classroom. But in my classroom, I'm going to do this. And it hit me. The feelings that I was suppressing about being poor and not wanting to be disingenuous, I knew right there. That was my calling. I'm supposed to be a teacher. Now, that doesn't mean I had a great time in school. I know when people become teachers, they think, oh, they're so great at school, they're so smart. But in college, I had a terrible time in physics. I would study and study and study, and to no avail, I would only get maybe a D. And so that made me question, well, if I can't do something basic physics, how am I going to be a teacher? And top that on to other classes that I had to take that were teaching classes, and I thought, if I can't do this, then I'm not going to be able to be a teacher. I'm really going to be a teacher if I can't know how to teach? So I stuck with it. I stuck with studying. I stuck with working hard. And I ended up getting a C in that class. In my other class, I ended up getting a B. So I put all this hard work, and I got a B and a C. But I was so happy because I learned so much. And I also learned that I need to advocate for myself. And my education is my responsibility. Now, how can I help my students recognize that their education is their own responsibility? And they have to grasp it. And they have to be wanting their education rather than just doing it just to pass. So I have to experience resiliency as a teacher by being human, to make sure that I advocate for my students. I need to make sure that I communicate with my students. I need to make sure that if they're not doing well, unfortunately, my teacher didn't care if I did well or not. It was up to me. But if my student is not doing well, I need to make sure that I'm doing the best that I can to make sure that they are thriving, not surviving. As a teacher, to help myself thrive, I need to make sure that I have a support system. So thankfully, my mom is still a teacher. My sister's a teacher. My brother's a teacher. My other brother's going to be a teacher. And my dad's a teacher. So having that support system, not only with my family, but also with my peers, and getting advice and making sure that I'm doing absolutely the best that I can by getting advice from others, by looking to my peers, by asking the hard questions, what can I do better? Rather than, okay, well, I did okay. They understood it kind of. They'll be fine. No, my students deserve the best. And so, my faith as a Christian, I need to make sure that I don't lose hope. I don't lose hope for the students that I have. Because when I lose hope, I can lose so much more. I can lose my faith in my students. And then they don't get the best education that they can have. Culture plays a huge part in society. My culture, I'm Hispanic and I'm 4th generation. And my mom says that she's English, Irish, and Dutch, and that's all muddled. But our family culture believes in responsibility. And I remember being so young and my dad driving home that point of responsibility. You need to be responsible for your actions. If I messed up, I need to be held accountable for those responsibilities. It doesn't matter if it was I messed up by not picking up my toys. I need to make it right. And so he also made sure that I understood that I need to help where I can. I can't sit complacent, and I can't rely on anybody else to fix a mistake or to do a job that I'm expected to do. And so that plays a huge part in who I am. I am a responsible person who believes that everyone should be treated with respect and kindness, and they should be treated as fairly as I want to be treated. My dad would drive the point, treat people the way you want to be treated. And it's ingrained in my head, and I can imagine him reprimanding me when I was little. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And so with the responsibility that I have and the way that I want to treat others in my classroom, I need to make sure that if my students are feeling like they are unjustly treated by me or by another person, it is my job to make sure that there is reconciliation. Either I or somebody else needs to take responsibility. If it was my fault, I will take responsibility. But if it's somebody else's fault, I need to make sure that they own up to their mistakes. I understood it was my responsibility to make sure that I give hope to others. That played a huge impact on me wanting to become a teacher. I wanted to help others. I wanted to give them hope. My educational philosophy has been improved upon throughout my K-12 schooling. I understood what it means to be a good teacher. I understood what it means to be a bad teacher. I wanted my students to know that they will be something. They will accomplish what they set their mind to. They have a bright future ahead of them. And at APU, that has been encouraged. I understand how important it is to be a teacher who advocates for other people, who cares for their students, and who wants the best so that they thrive. They aren't just surviving, they're thriving. And that became the main reason why I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted my students to thrive, and I wanted them to live up their full potential. I had a responsibility in my heart that I needed to help people. I saw people had social injustice, and I knew in my heart that I need to be part of the change. I need to be part of the solution, not part of the problem.